Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today we got a cover reveal for The Walking Dead issue 176. Now, real quick, if you do not follow Charlie Adler, he's the artist for The Walking Dead. If you don't follow him on Twitter, if you do have a Twitter, go ahead and give him a follow if you want to see these cover reveals the moment he uploads them. He's usually been the one posting them more recently. So go ahead and give him a follow. It's Twitter/Charlie Adler, something like that. I'm not always able to upload videos about the covers as soon as they're revealed. Lately I have been pretty good with it. Sometimes it takes me a few days, maybe even a week if I'm extremely busy. So go ahead and give him a follow, and that way you don't have to wait for me. But this part of the story has a lot of fans excited, worried, curious, interested. I mean, it's a really exciting time, and I still feel the same way I did 6 months ago. A lot of my predictions for the comic book, if you go back and listen to them over again, especially ones that are easy to forget. If you go back and listen 8-9 months ago, I've been saying this for the longest time. You can only go up. You can only keep progressing. You cannot destroy the communities and start from scratch. It's not going to happen. Realistically, with the communities, food is the biggest thing. And keep in mind, the realism in this world is, well, yeah, come on. They break realism every now and then, but for the most part, they keep their own, they keep this grounded in reality as much as possible, but you break realism if you don't have them finding food. They can't scavenge because it's been so many years. You're not going to find food in cupboards that's not way past its expiration date anymore. So you need to have them growing crops. So to destroy the communities and have them go out on the road is a pretty silly idea. At this point in time, you need to work upward, and the only idea is, the most likely idea, I should say, would be a big established network of communities. Now, I have been more on the side of against a part of the government, you know what I mean? But a lot of fans want this to have something to do, some remnants of the old government. Now, I'm a little leery because sometimes with storylines in the post-apocalypse dealing with the government, it could get extra cheesy. So I want Kirkman to balance a fine line of the realism with the government and the cheesiness, and stray away from what a lot of other post-apocalyptic stories have done with the governments in that world. So I'm really interested, and I think he will do that. I think it's going to be a little bit different than what we would normally expect as far as a government in the post-apocalypse. But a lot of fans want this. They want the government aspect. They want a peek at it. They don't want it to dominate the world of The Walking Dead or change it so drastically you don't even recognize it a year from now. But there's a lot of fans that are worried what direction The Walking Dead is going to take after this point in time. We don't have a lot to go on as far as predictions. I mean, look at this. This is clearly somebody who is presidential. It might not be the president from before. It might not be a president, but she has this presidential air around her. You have the desk. You got the little USA flag, the pens on the desk. I mean, it's organized. It has that presidential vibe to it. And then you have the stormtrooper soldiers, flanking her in the back, and then the open window behind her. So she does appear to be the leader or president of whatever they have established, their community, their network of communities. Now, this can also go a number of different ways. She can be legit a good person holding it down. She could be a bad person. I want it to be in the middle. If it's going to be anything, if this is the end point for this part of the story, and it's not a leaping point, what I mean by that is she's going to be the conflict, okay? That's either one aspect, or there's another opportunity to make her her and the communities just another part of this world. And there's another aspect that's going to be the conflict. Maybe that can be one of the different communities that is near her community, but she and her community won't be the conflict. So there's two different options there. I would prefer it to be more complex. Here's a really small example. I don't want exactly this, but this will give you the idea of I don't want her all the way good and I don't want her all the way bad. I want something in the middle where, let's say, she is helping people. She's not evil. She doesn't have this evil plan about her. However, her plan is going against what Rick and the other communities will want. She's expanding and she wants to absorb other communities. And you can't say no, you know. She absorbs you no matter what. Now, she's not like Negan. She's not going to threaten you, kill you, yada, yada, yada. She will slowly, you know, force her will on the people and take them over as part of her jurisdiction, so to speak. So, and there could be things where you break the laws and they'll come and arrest you and put you in their jail and yada, yada, yada. I've talked about this before. You can also make side stories out of just that. Imagine the leader, Rick Grimes. I mean, for crying out loud, if they run into this new network of communities that's established like a government, Rick is like, nope, we're good. You know, we'll trade with you and all that, but we're not gonna, you're not gonna rule us. And then imagine she imprisons him. What do you do then with the communities back home? They're like, this is nuts, you know? We're living in the post-apocalypse and this bitch just threw Rick in prison, but she's not mean about it. It's simply he broke the law. And in her view of things, the law expands to everywhere within her reach. You know, if she can expand the communities in her army out there, then yes, they need to be a part of her jurisdiction. And again, that's not exactly what I want, but that's if they are going to go in a direction where she is the conflict, her and their communities, that is the direction where she's not 100% an evil big bad. It just so happens that her plans will interfere with Rick and the other survivors. I mean, the government failed. They failed everybody. And everyone was on their own, surviving, you know, ripping people's throats out with your bare teeth. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're surviving on their own. They had to defeat their own tyrants. And now you got this government official and she's like, nah, it's all good now. But by the way, you didn't vote for me. You had nothing to do with me being in power or us and establishing our community. But, you know, we are the government, so we rule you now that we know who you are and yada, yada, yada. It's also possible that Stephanie's a part of this community. This is coming up really fast. We do have an issue before this a lot of fans were hyped about, and this was the first reveal of the post-apocalyptic stormtrooper soldiers. And then the issue before this is what we're going to get. 174 with Negan out in the wilderness. We already got 173, and this one, you can tell with one issue in between these two, we are really close to finding out who these people are. I mean, really close. I kind of feel like we're going to see them at the end of 164, so that means we might get a sneak peek of these guys in the very next issue we get in The Walking Dead. Now, I do see some fans out there that are not at all happy about this. They think this is going to change the world of The Walking Dead forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't fix it, and yada, yada, yada. And for those fans, I understand they're worried. This is a big thing. This is definitely a huge change in the story. But I do believe there is a lot of potential for them as far as the world of The Walking Dead not being the same. The Walking Dead it's not what it was in the very beginning. It can't be that. It's never going to be that. Like, that's gone. Like when Rick Grimes wakes up from the coma and he explores this world that's freshly turned, you know, and they're surviving, moving around with little groups of people. That world, the first compendium, you know, maybe the first half of the compendium 1, that world is done. Like, you are not getting that back. Up until the point where I guess we got to Alexandria, the Walking Dead world is done. It had a slow transformation from the traveling and surviving and then establishing the community, a solid community. That slow transformation that was our focus was pretty much on Negan and the different communities coming together, that by the end of the war, you know, it's over. The whole new beginning is truly a new beginning where this is the post-apocalypse. So the world of The Walking Dead, you know, in the first 115 or 120 issues, like, that story is gone. We're never getting that back. Never. Unless they do some kind of spin-off and they could go back in time and show, like, Jesus or some stuff like that. And what I mean by that is that's not all negative. Moving forward, what comes after the new beginning, time has moved on people, communities have established. There's also people out there surviving and maybe even hunting, sleeping in tents. I mean, living like a nomad even. There's lots of different possibilities for that stuff going on story-wise. However, the world it's changed, you know, it's overgrown, and the places that are established are areas you would run into if you went out and explored or just traveled. So when I say the world of The Walking Dead in the very beginning, when I say that's done, I literally mean that is gone, but we have remnants of those storylines that you loved. We have little pieces of that that's still possible in the coming story, but it has to be in between the networks of these communities. Like with our group now on the road, they didn't do a lot with them so far. They just traveled from Alexandria, and then they traveled up to this point where they're going to meet with the post-apocalyptic stormtrooper soldiers. But they could have did a side story with that group where it would be like an old-fashioned Walking Dead. The area is very different, though. It's all overgrown, but it is that old-fashioned story that you like. So again, even though the future looks like it's changing drastically, there's also those little nuggets that will be just like the earlier stories, but absolutely different, because when you travel, you're either running into the overgrown land, established communities, little villages of people, nomads, people living on their own for years. I mean, it's kind of similar, absolutely, but in the same strength, it's totally different. A quick example, because I feel like I'm being too general. You know, Rick and them ran across Tyrese and his family, freshly shaven, a backpack, you know, a trench coat, wearing like normal gear, you know what I mean, normal clothing, because the society just broke down recently. However, now if you travel, when you run into that Tyrese character or Tyrese type character, he's going to have these raggedy clothes on. He's not going to be clean shaven. He's going to have his pack with all his supplies and, you know, his little area where he fishes and he's hunting, and he might know of a community of people. Maybe he doesn't live there, but he lives in another place. Like, he'll be established and set up. That's pretty much it. I do want to cut it off here. There's probably more we can discuss, but let me hear your thoughts and opinions about this, and we'll do a follow-up video possibly and discuss more about where the story's headed in the New World Order story arc. It's a 6-part story arc, and it starts in issue 175. So, thoughts and opinions down in that comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.